few years ago, I hiked to a slot canyon in Grand Staircase Escalante. I'd walked around cow fences and across slick rock to get there. But when I arrived, the canyon was flooded. Good morning. It's 7:49, so this is definitely a late start. I stood at the water's edge for a while, smelling damp sand and rock from last week's flash flood. Warm, still air hung in the slot. The water's surface was blue and orange, a perfect mirror image of sky and sandstone walls. As far as I could tell, my options were forward, into the pool, or back to the car. I took a step, swamping my dry shoe and sock with cold, silty water. I took another step, sending ripples across the glassy surface. Fully clothed, I swam through a slot canyon in the desert. Black Moqui marbles the size of grapefruits stuck out of the sandstone, too high for me to reach. Fat tadpoles bumped into my arms and legs as I pushed through narrowing walls. It felt gross and dirty, and delightful, swimming through a stagnant bathtub of freezing brown water. When my feet couldn't touch bottom anymore, I pressed my hands to the canyon walls and walked between them, leaving a trail of wet handprints behind. Eventually, I came to an impassable boulder wedged between tight, striped walls. I'd have to come back another day. I sloshed back to the entrance and picked up my backpack. A hot breeze had moved into the canyon, drying my cheeks, and rustling strands of wet hair stuck to my face. I was grateful to be cold and wet for the return hike. Turning toward the car, parked somewhere near a cattle guard a few miles away, my eye caught the flick of something dark and tiny wriggling near the west-facing wall. In a depression of sand, I found a half-dozen tadpoles gasping in an evaporated puddle. They were ugly, bulbous little creatures with round heads and singular tails. A few had sprouted stubby arms and legs. I guess they were just minutes from death, drying out only 5 feet away from my muddy swimming pool. When I bent down and gently scooped them into my palms, they flopped and thrashed their not quite fish but not quite toad bodies so vigorously, I thought I might drop them. If tadpoles feel fear, I'm certain a giant 2-legged predator terrified them more than their previous fate. They were cold and moist like wet sand, but slicker. Their nickel-sized bodies felt impossibly delicate, even fragile. I could barely feel their weight in my palms. Looking down, I realized I was holding the balance of life and death in my hands.
I'll save you. Let's get you in the water.
I was all powerful. They didn't have a chance in hell, but there we all were. It was horrifying. I quickly dumped them into my left hand and cupped them with my right. They squirmed like it was their final fight. It only took a few steps for me to reach the pool, where one tadpole immediately swam into deeper water, like an iguana heading toward the open sea. A few took their time returning from the brink before swimming off. One was still. I never saw her move. The whole thing was an act of God. Me being God, of course. I could just as easily have walked past them, not thinking a damn thing about the tragedy of amphibians suffocating 5 feet from salvation. What if I'd been taking a picture, pulling out a snack, or looking at the sky? Playing God felt as dangerous as peeking into Pandora's box. I don't believe I have dominion over animals or the earth, but the power dynamic was as real as my own reflection in the canyon water that day. Mary Oliver writes, if God exists, he isn't just butter and good luck. He's also the tick that killed my wonderful dog Luke. Imagine everything you can. Imagine. Then keep going. Maybe God is me, and my hands, and the possibility that I could have been taking a picture, pulling out a snack, or looking at the sky. Maybe God is water in a slot canyon, and the toads who laid their eggs in one of the driest places on Earth. Maybe God is the greatest power imbalance in Earth's history, human versus tadpole. And maybe God is realizing that the further away from religion I fall, the closer I come to imagining everything I can imagine. And then I keep going. Back to the car to blast gorillas and drink lukewarm limoncello seltzer. The smell of sand and stone on my damp clothes.